There's a 40-year-old woman in Ohio who hasn't set an alarm clock in 3 years. She doesn't have a boss. She doesn't have a mortgage payment hanging over her head. And she spends her Tuesday mornings hiking instead of sitting in traffic. She's not a trust fund kid. She didn't inherit anything. She didn't start a company that sold for millions. She was a quality control inspector making $64,000 a year. And the reason she's free right now, at an age when most people are just hitting their peak earning years and drowning in expenses, comes down to a piece of math that was never once mentioned in 12 years of public school. Today, I'm going to show you exactly what she did, the number that made it possible, and why the school system trains you to be a great employee but keeps you completely blind to the one formula that actually buys your freedom. Her name is Elena, and at 27, she was nothing special financially. She had $11,000 in student debt, a decent job as an inspector for a manufacturing plant, and roughly $2,000 in a checking account. What made Elena different wasn't her income. It was a conversation. A coworker, an older man near retirement, told her something in the break room that most people never hear until it's too late. He said, "The money you invest before 35 is worth roughly 4 times more than the money you invest after 45. Elena didn't understand it at the time. But she went home, opened a retirement account that night, and started putting in $310 a month. Not a huge number. Less than most people spend on takeout and streaming subscriptions combined. Here's where the math the school system never taught you actually comes into play. And once you understand it, you will never look at money the same way again. It's called the Rule of 72, and it tells you roughly how many years it takes for your money to double at a given rate of return. Divide 72 by your interest rate, and that's your doubling time. At an average long-term market return of about 9%, your money doubles roughly every 8 years. That sounds small. It is not small. It's the single most powerful force in personal finance, and almost nobody graduates high school knowing it exists. Let's watch it play out in real numbers, because this is where it stops being theory and starts being undeniable. Elena invested $310 a month starting at 27. By 35, 8 years in, she had contributed about $30,000 of her own money. But because of growth, her account was worth roughly $46,000. Here's the part that changes everything. From 35 to 43, that same money doubles again, without her adding a single additional dollar, simply because it had time to compound. By 43, her original $30,000, just sitting there, untouched, was worth over $90,000 from growth alone. Meanwhile, her coworker who told her this secret didn't start seriously investing until he was 44. He put in nearly triple what Elena put in every single month, trying to catch up. He still ended up with less at retirement because he had run out of doubling periods. He simply didn't have enough time left for the multiplication to work. This is the part of the story school never explains, and it's not an accident that it's missing. School teaches you how to calculate interest on a loan. It rarely teaches you how compounding works in reverse, growing money instead of eating it. You can graduate valedictorian, get accepted into a top university, and still never once encounter the concept of a doubling period, or an index fund, or what a savings rate actually means for your future. You come out fully trained to earn a paycheck and almost completely untrained to keep any of it. By the time Elena turned 30, she wasn't just investing her own paycheck contributions. She had discovered something that supercharged everything. It's called Coast Fire, and it's the actual mechanism behind her early retirement, even though she never used that term out loud. Here's what it means in plain language. Once you've invested enough money early enough, you reach a point where you don't need to add another single dollar for the rest of your life. And compounding alone will carry you to a fully funded retirement by the time you're 65. From that point forward, every dollar you still earn from working is pure surplus. You could downshift to a lower stress job, work part-time, or eventually stop entirely and simply let your investments coast the rest of the way to a normal retirement number, decades ahead of schedule. Elena hit her coast number at 34. By then, she had about $140,000 invested. The math told her that if she never contributed another dollar, that money alone, growing at a historical average rate, would turn into over $1.5 million by the time she was 65. That single realization changed her entire relationship with work. She wasn't working to build wealth anymore. She was working purely to cover her current bills because her future was already, mathematically, taken care of. So over the next 6 years, instead of upgrading her lifestyle the way most people do when they get comfortable, she did something unusual. She kept her spending low and started investing the surplus into a completely separate account, a bridge account, meant to cover her living expenses for the years between quitting and reaching traditional retirement age. Now let's talk about the coworker again, because his story is the mirror image, and it's the story that actually applies to most people watching this. He earned more than Elena for almost his entire career, close to $80,000 a year at his peak. But he didn't start investing seriously until 44, after a divorce forced him to rebuild his finances from close to zero. He invested aggressively, nearly $900 a month, almost triple Elena's contribution rate. By 65, after 21 years of aggressive investing, he had built approximately $630,000. Respectable. Enough to retire on, modestly. But Elena, contributing a fraction of that amount, for fewer total dollars invested overall, ended up with more than double that, purely because her money had 16 additional years to double, and double again, while she was busy living her life. Same market, same average returns. The only variable that mattered was time, and time is the one resource school never teaches you to protect. Here's the deeper revelation underneath all of this, the one that should genuinely bother you. The financial system doesn't hide this math because it's complicated. Rule of 72 is something a 10-year-old can calculate. It hides it because an entire economy runs on you not doing it. If everyone understood at 18 that $300 a month starting today beats $900 a month starting at 44, fewer people would finance cars, fewer people would carry credit card balances, and fewer people would spend their 20s treating their income as disposable. The school system was built during an era focused on producing reliable factory and office workers, not financially independent citizens, and frankly, very little about that design has changed since. Let's talk about opportunity cost one more time, because this is where the emotional weight really lands. Consider a single ordinary decision. A 25-year-old spends $200 a month on things she doesn't really need, an extra streaming bundle, impulse online orders, a car payment slightly bigger than necessary. Over 40 years, that's $96,000 of direct spending. But invested instead, at that same 9% average return, $200 a month for 40 years becomes just over $840,000. That is not a hypothetical. That is one modest monthly habit, multiplied by time, turning into the difference between working until 70 and walking away at 50. Now here's the contrarian insight, the part that goes against almost everything you'll hear about early retirement. Most people assume the secret is earning a massive income, 6 figures, 7 figures, some dramatic breakthrough. Elena never earned more than $71,000 a year in her life. The secret was never the size of the paycheck. It was the age at which the first dollar started compounding, combined with refusing to let her lifestyle expand as fast as her income did. A 27-year-old investing modestly will, in almost every realistic scenario, outbuild a 45-year-old investing aggressively, simply because compounding needs time far more than it needs size. This is the wealth contrast that matters most here. There is a difference between a saver and a capital owner. A saver puts money aside and feels responsible. A capital owner understands that every dollar not working for them today is a dollar that loses its most valuable resource, the years it could have spent doubling. Elena wasn't smarter than her coworker. She wasn't luckier. She simply understood, at 27, that time was the actual currency, and money was just the vehicle. So here's what you actually do with this. First, calculate your own coast number. Take your current invested amount and project it forward at a conservative growth rate to see what it becomes by 65 with zero additional contributions. You might be closer to freedom than you think, or you might discover exactly how much urgency you actually need right now. Second, treat your 20s and early 30s as the most valuable investing years you will ever have. Not because you'll have more money then, but because that money will have the most doubling periods ahead of it. Third, before increasing your lifestyle with every raise, increase your investment contribution first, automatically, so compounding starts working before comfort has a chance to catch up. Here's the final lesson. Retirement was never really about age. It was never about a number everyone assumes is 65. It's about the number of doubling periods you allow your money to experience before you need it. Elena didn't retire early because she found a shortcut. She retired early because she started the clock 18 years before most people even realize the clock exists. The school system taught her how to get hired. Nobody taught her how to get free. She had to learn that part in a break room almost by accident, and it changed the entire shape of her life. Elena's break room napkin math is quietly doing more for people's retirement than most advisors ever will. A little embarrassing for the industry. Great news for you. Here's your homework, and I actually want the answer below. Run your numbers this week, what you've already saved growing untouched to 65, and tell me your coast fire age. Some of you will be shocked how close you are. Some of you, how far. Both are useful, so post it. I read every comment. Makes it a lot easier if you don't want to pull out a calculator. I built a free Coast Fire calculator worksheet, links in the description. It walks you through the exact formula and even has Elena's numbers worked out for you. If this changed how you see your 20s, hit like. It tells me the deep dives are worth the research time. And subscribe, because next time, the exact net worth numbers you need at every age to retire by 50. Talk to you in the comments.